next thing I want to speak to you about is Moses Itauma Whyte just announced yesterday. Not many people saw this coming. It's obviously a fight that everyone thought Dillian was waiting for, the Anthony Joshua fight, but bang, he's fighting 20-year-old Moses Itauma. What do you make of it?
Well, to be honest, this is where we'd have to stop the interview, because I had a message from Dillian Whyte last time, we talked about him, and he said, keep my name out of your interviews. So I don't really want to go any further. Yeah, so if you want to take it any further, then it's all going to be on you, innit? So make your mind up. What do you want to do?
Well, we're just talking about the fight.
Well, I know, but it's like I said, we can't really bring up Dillian Whyte.
What do you think of the fight itself? Like, we saw Dillian recently, he had a bit of a comeback. He's been slightly inactive.
So before we go any further, you're prepared to move forward with talking about Dillian Whyte on the podcast, yeah? In case we get any comebacks.
Just want your opinion on the fight.
Because I don't want you rolling up at this fight and him having you by the scruff of the neck.
I get on great with Dillian, and this is your opinion, not mine.
Right, put it on me.
I'm just asking about the fight.
What do I think? Well, Dillian's 37, but that's probably on a Jamaican passport. He could actually be older than that. He could be plus 40, who knows. But it's an opportunity for him. He's probably going to get big money. Atouma's 20, is the prospect coming through. Dillian Whyte's got a lot of experience. He's had, I think he's had 2 fights since he's come back. A bit of a big long break, a year and a half, I think he had out. We're not going to talk about why that was. So it's a big chance for Dillian Whyte to get himself back in the mix. It's experience against youth and determination, isn't it? And if Atouma's a real deal, he'll beat Dillian Whyte. But like I say, he's a tough campaigner. Dillian Whyte is tough. He might be a bit long in the tooth. 17 years is a massive difference, and it's just whether Atouma's mature enough, when he's been knocking everybody over, that if he comes up against some resistance with Dillian Whyte, how he's gonna manage it. That's going to be the telling. But like I said, 20 years old, when you're fast, you're strong, you think quicker, it's a massive advantage over somebody who's 17 years older than you. Unless you're somebody like a George Foreman who's tactical, who can take a shot, and he, look what he did with Michael Moore, wore him down and flattened him. Dillian's not that type of fighter. So, you have to really go with Itauma on this one, because all the advantages are with him. It's his promotion, his promoter putting it on. He's on a roll at the minute.
They're both with Frank Warren, believe it or not.
All right, well, you never really know who Dillian Whyte's promoter's with, because he's been with everybody, so I was unaware of that. But maybe he had to sign with him to get the fight. But it looks like it's all in Atouma's favour. But
Could he old man him? That whole.
It's difficult to old man somebody, because to old man somebody, you've got to have the technical skill. To old man somebody, you've got to be able to tie him up. You've got to be able to, frustrate him. And Dillian Whyte's not that type of fighter. You've got to be a fighter like Tyson Fury to do that. You've got to be an Archie Moore to do that. And Dillian Whyte's not that, is he? To old man his way through. Dave Allen's not bad at old manning his way through. I've seen him on a bag today, doing his rooted to the spot, doing his twists and turns and saying, this is not pretty, but it's got me where I need to be, and it ain't pretty. He stood straight in front of you. But that's kind of the old manning, the move, stood in front of you, absorbing the shots, and, and all of a sudden comes out in the middle of nowhere and you're on your bike. And that works for Dave. Obviously, he did in his last fight. So, Dillian Whyte's not that type of fighter.
Okay. See how that goes. The build-up will be interesting to see if there's any beef either way. Last thing I want to speak to you about is Edy Reynoso. We saw Oscar De La Hoya put a video out yesterday, and he was complaining that nobody's talking about it. So we're going to talk about it, because I didn't know how the extent of it. He basically talked about Edy Reynoso, who's just had Jamie Munguia fail a steroid test, basically a PEDS test. Oscar says he's had 6 fighters on his watch failed tests. And why is nobody talking about it?
But why?
The question I want to ask you, Dom, is is the onus... Because I think what he's trying to allude to is that he's involved in this.
Well, if he is, if Reynoso's giving him drugs, he's not very good at doing it, is he? And you think to yourself, he'd pack up at some point, because it's putting too much risk on his fighters. So you would think after 1 or 2 attempts at that you think, this is not working for me. So I just think it's silly to think, for people to think that Edy Reynoso would be giving his fighters drugs. It's like, fighters do their own thing. You understand? They have their own nutritionists, they have their own S&Cs. He just happens to have got them in the gym training them. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's just ridiculous to think that he's the one doing it, because like I say, they're all failing, aren't they? So imagine that you come to me and you're a fighter, and Canelo and somebody else has just failed a drug test, and I'm the trainer. I say, right, you're going to be fantastic. We're going to give you some drugs, pal, and we're going to get you firing on all cylinders. You as a fighter, what you're going to think? You're going to think, well, Canelo's failed the drug test, and this other fella is, and if it's him doing it, I ain't got much confidence in him, have I? So what would you do? You wouldn't do it, would you?
Change, go to a different gym.
Right. So after the first two fighters, what, the other four aren't aware of that. So the other four who failed would think, I'm not going to listen to him. Of course you won't listen to him. You probably wouldn't even go train with him if you actually thought that was the thing, would you?
Indeed.
Right.
Well, just for context, I've got the names of the 6 fighters as well. I was trying to see what kind of bands they've got. But Louis Neary, he failed for a substance called Zilpaterol.
Don't know what that
so
is.
he got a lifetime ban from Japan, but I think he still kind of boxes. Julio Cesar Martinez, who was back and forth trying to fight Sonny Edwards, but the fight never happened and he ended up failing.
On what?
I'm sure it might have been Julio Cesar Martinez. Let's have a quick Google and see what drug he failed on. Failed test. This would be interesting. So he tested positive for diuretics and masking agents.
Clearing the eye system.
So that's what he got done for. Ryan Garcia was obviously Ostarine.
Ostarine, yeah, which is the same as what Amir Khan got done with.
Yep. Oscar Valdez failed test was.
Oh, I remember that one.
He got done.
Was it not drostanolone or something? Or?
For pentamine.
Pentamine.
Pentamine. He failed his test for pentamine. I never heard of that.
It might be a stimulant, that, I think.
And then obviously Munguia.
Oh, it says it's a diet drug, pentamine.
Okay.
Pentamine, PH.
Okay. And
yeah, pentamine in it, yeah.
And they got Jamie Munguia, who's the recent one. He failed on. He's just having his B sample tested as well. We don't know. It just says adverse finding, and obviously the Canelo one we know that was the
Clenbuterol.
Clenbuterol, yeah. So what we're saying, so we've got Canelo, Munguia, Oscar Valdez, Louis Neary, Julio Cesar Martinez, Ryan Garcia, 6 fighters under his watch.
Well, I would say that in that case, and even speaking from experience, that I think somebody sent me a message saying you're the English version of Edy Reynoso, but there's only ever been one.
Who sent you that?
Some random, but there's actually been 2 people in this gym in the 40 odd years who actually failed a proper drug test. That's Kid Galahad and John Thaxton. John Thaxton got his test cleared. It took a lot of fighting and we got it cleared. Billy Joe Saunders wasn't a ban in the sense of the World Anti-Doping Association. It was what was in the contract with VADA, totally different. So Billy Joe Saunders could have boxed in England. He could have boxed any time. He didn't get a ban. He just got took out at ratings. So people love to ban this one about because that's all there's ever been. And I always remember Tony Bellew coming out when we had a fight called Ivan Garb who failed the drug test. Another one from Ingle, Jim. Yeah, I failed the drug test.
Cocaine, wasn't it?
Recreational drug, and it wasn't in competition. It was out of competition. If that was a UK anti-doping official who came to the gym and tested him and had that in his system, it wouldn't have been anything because they don't have it. But VADA, because you're on the clean program, where it's marijuana or cocaine, whatever, even out of competition, it's down as a ban. So realistically, in this gym, there's only ever one person who's actually legitimately failed the drug test, and that was Kid Galahad, which he got his ban reduced for whatever reason, and that's it. So when I look at stories like this, you have to be objective and think to yourself, well, if 2 fighters from this gym failed tests, and a new fighter came in, say, we had at that time, I think we had, obviously Barry had failed the test, Billy Joe Saunders had failed the test with VADA. Well, I had Liam Williams come in, you understand? Imagine if I said to Liam Williams, right, we're going to get some drugs in you, Liam, they're going, fuck off, like, I'm not going to get a ban. And Liam Williams had a great career. So if you've got any sense, why would you? You just look at the environment and think, well, I'm not going to do that. So why would the other fighters follow suit and possibly head down that route? Do you know what I mean? So for me, it'll be down to the individual boxer, whatever they're doing. You know, whether they've got, and most of them have got plenty of hangers on. You know, plenty of hangers on. And we've had it in this gym, hangers on around fighters suggesting they do this and suggesting they do that. And I don't mean taking drugs, but I just mean the behaviour. You know, you want to train this way, you want to go to that gym to train, you want to listen to this one, you want to use him for nutrition. There's plenty of busybodies sticking their nose in with fighters. So, you know, unless some clear-cut evidence comes out where a fighter turns around and says, and let's face it, out of these 6, has anybody ever turned, have any of these fighters left Reynoso?
Ryan Garcia, but I think that was more to do with he couldn't train him.
So, you know, did Ryan Garcia fail the test when he was trained by Reynoso? Right. So why didn't he? If Garcia had turned around and said to the authorities, if he turned around and said to the authorities, that fella gave me drugs, it would actually reduce his ban and give him a way out. So why didn't he do that? If that was the case.
Yeah, that's a fair point, but obviously it's very unlucky for Edy Reynoso that he's had 6 fights.
Well, let's look at it this way. You get elite fighters. Jamie Munguia, he got beat by a kid he shouldn't have got beat by. Yeah?
Well, Ryan Garcia potentially might have been with Derek James, to be fair.
Regardless.
Yeah.
But, so is nobody pointing the finger at Derek James then? Has anybody said, well, it were him who did it? Right.
No. Well,
so we're talking about Munguia. So Munguia gets beat by, realistically, somebody a bit of an unknown. He gets stopped, did he?
Yeah, he got stopped by him.
Yeah. And then he rematched him.
Beat him.
But he's rematched him and he's failed the drug test. So common sense would say, you think, well, he's been beat by somebody he shouldn't have been beat by. You know, desperate measures. So maybe he's just gone off his own bike and thought, right, you know, I'll get somebody to zoom me up, so to speak, and he's gone in.
His first fight with Edy Reynoso.
Oh, it was his first fight with? Oh, right, okay. So whichever way, so you know, he's made a comeback and he's won, and then he's failed a drug test. So we'll have to see what the adverse finding is. He might not even get a ban from it.
Let's see what happens. But yeah, it's we've talked about it because Oscar had a big rant yesterday.
Yeah, but Oscar loves doing that, doesn't he? Oscar loves digging it in with everybody because he's no longer got Canelo. It's a bit, when I look at Oscar going off what he's doing, it's a bit sad, really. You know, for the level he's been at, why does he need to be like a boxing commentator or opinionator or whatever it is? It just sounds like massive sour grapes, doesn't it?
Who knows? But that's it, Dom. Unless you've got anything else to add, I think we've kind of flown through most of the subjects. Yeah, that's it really. I don't think there's anything else. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, that's it really. I want to get you them boxer or boxing boots and then you can review them, but I'll have the link up in the comments if anybody wants to buy them. There's very limited stock of the range at the moment. So yeah, Dom, thank you very much.